Oh, well, recording in progress.
That answer your question?
Yeah, it sure did. Hi, everybody.
All right, let me set my phaser to stun. How's our angle? This is a new angle we're trying today. So, welcome to Tea Drunk. I'm your host, Dave Way, also AKA Flav Way, and just made a new one today, Slave Way, with a smile.
Slave way. Oh,
And
God.
we have Big Brother Shane in here, Mr. Zuki.
Howdy.
I have two brothers that I call Zuki or Ookie Dookie. Matt Lucas gets a Ookie Dookie, and Shannon Zook gets a Zuki Dookie.
I get the dookie dookie,
Yeah.
ookie dookie.
And how cute that
Right,
we're
it's
kind
adorable.
of triangle anyway.
So adorable.
So what am I? Where's my Dookie? We'll figure it out. We don't have to force it.
Dookie.
The great way isn't forced.
You are the dookie.
I had to shit on everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. We are about to get tea drunk. We are in summer and it's hot, so I am brewing us some shung. It's some young, raw, green, and specifically, this is the tea that was harvested on my son's birthday, the day he was born.
Oh,
Pulling and harvesting tea. So
nice.
that's what we're drinking today. Special.
It's good tea.
Yeah.
It's very good tea.
And today is really special because this marks 2 years.
It's
Right?
been 2 years?
We
Yeah,
started
no, it's
goat.
been 2 years.
We started goat.
Yeah, I always found it really amusing that we started something in the season of ending, in the season of completion, and like I remember that first session because we were like, it's ironic that we would talk about that we would begin this by saying, "Everybody go to bed now," or like, "Time to wrap it up." It's good teaching for me. Every time we come back to this goat moon, it's another layer of fun. So I thank you so much for this opportunity to visit and to share as we do.
Oh,
Oh,
the goat moon.
yeah, goat moon. And it's also community, right? The goats are hive mind.
Yeah.
It's cooperation, it's drawing strength from each other. It's for those of you following along at home, it's hexagram 45, gathering together. It's the huddle up moment, of the year.
Shout out Connie.
Shout out, Connie. Yeah, 45.
That's another shout out to my buddy Bo. He had some, I can't remember quite clearly. I'm just gonna say it was goats for sake of the story. But it's either goats or lamb or sheep or one of them things.
Same.
Same, right? Same. But he had half dozen of them. But what he did was he lined the shed that they slept in with mirrors.
Oh, so it seemed like there were more of them. Wow. That's very
And
clever.
they loved it.
Yeah.
They felt safe.
Yeah, not so
Right?
anxious because they're part of a herd.
Yeah. So the numbers, to have many of them, and then to have the mirrors along all the walls. So now mirrors facing mirrors.
Yeah.
Now
It's just like you're like an infinite.
Go!
Yeah. It's all goat as far as the eye can see.
But-
And they mirror each other, like, in motion. So like as soon as they move, it's like 10,000 other goats move. And they're like, okay, word, I'm in the right place.
that reminds me of shout out Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, that iconic fight scene where they're all in that.
Oh yeah,
Hall of
right. Yeah, the
Mirrors.
Hall of Mirrors. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, yeah, goats.
Yeah, mirroring. Yeah. It's actually the sixth moon for me, as somebody who's a student of these ways, has been very how do I say, it's been one of the more, it's a really juicy place in the year, like incredibly vibrant. It's ripe, it is the essence of ripeness, this like fertile abundance. We talk about that with respect to like harvest, which is the autumn moons. You don't really think about it so much in terms of a late summer phenomenon, but it's actually when we're supposed to be noticing it, like how extraordinary nature is, how blessed we are, in fact, to be here and to be participating and pursuing our aspirations, but also our capacity to celebrate and to share, because that is actually what's recommended, like what are the long-term, that's a question we were asking earlier today, what are the long-term implications of a society that no longer takes time to celebrate and share? It's disastrous. I think pretty much everybody can agree. Our sense of fruition in this society is very inhumane, at its core. And it's one of the reasons is we don't take the time to actually recognize what we've done, to find dignity in what we've done, and to finish and to feel a sense of completion or satisfaction. I mean, that's what we talked a little bit about that last moon, that sense of settled for nothing less than satisfaction, like a feeling of satisfaction. And now with the horse moon, and now it's like, it's really important. Number one thing is to pace yourself and like find ways to celebrate, find ways to share.
Yeah. Because this is goat moon, right? This is
the metal goat
last moon,
third moon of summer. Yeah, this is which points to why it's so juicy.
Yeah,
right. It's the last moon of summer before autumn arrives.
Right. So take your foot off the gas.
Oh yeah, yeah. Downshift. Like really, if you're in sixth gear, you should be fifth headed to fourth. Right. Should be really pacing
There's
it back.
a stop sign ahead.
Yeah, you should know that there's a stop sign. And we have a view, in our society. I just wrote this down. Right now, we should understand, it should be clear to us that Western society is basically a suicide pact in motion. Like they're all making the agreement to never stop. So it's a suicide pact because it so clearly doesn't work. But we're willing. Are you going to keep going? Okay, I'm going to keep going. Like, well, I'm going to go faster than you. And like, there's this energy that comes with this kind of collective condition. And this is really important because we are who we say we are. And that's vibrantly the case in the sixth moon, is that collectively we're making a declaration. As human beings, we're making a declaration of who we are. Because in this cosmology, it's a three-part cosmology: heaven, earth, and human beings. So in the sixth moon, we actually have to show up as human beings to fulfill our partnership with heaven and earth. It's actually really, and the thing is, you're doing it whether you know it or not. So this goes back to this whole idea of view, method, and fruition, that you were talking about earlier, like how we use the cup, like basically says what the cup is, right? So you're doing that all the time. You are participating in a view all the time. And you're making assumptions about what you are as a human being, what other people are, and what you're all collectively doing together. So this is a wussy wig moment. Like what you see is what you get. Like this is
wussy wig. What you see is what you get. Thank you for translating that right away. What you smell is what you get in this case.
Yeah, I wish you could smell this. Like
this is where we need smell everything.
Smell everything.
Please.
Take it in. That's really
wow. Stone fruit. All day.
Yeah.
Apricot.
Yeah, apricot.
100%.
That's really nice and very nourishing right now, because we all need to water ourselves profusely, like cool down. Like it's gonna get even hotter, because Yang, even though is on the way out, like solstice is come and gone. So it's in decline, and it's gonna get even more in decline. And we're headed at the end of this moon with the full moon now, but at the end of this moon, we'll be technically from the vision of the Tongshu, the cosmology, the Tongshu in the northern hemisphere. There's our argument about that, but in the northern hemisphere, will be at the end of summer. Summer will be concluding. So summer's got about 2.5 weeks before before it gives way to autumn. And so that, so we're kind of headed toward the cliff. It's going to drop off, right?
Yeah.
But in that process, Yang becomes kind of desperate. I think Ming referred to it as like, it puts the last bullet in the gun, I'm going to give it all, the one last push,
Hail Mary effort. And
right? So we value that in the West. Do it, leave it all on the table, give it, 110%, do not go quietly into the dying of the light, right? Like that whole famous poem by Dylan Thomas, that is considered to be ghost making material in the Chinese worldview. Like you should never do that. You should don't rage against the dying of the light. You should actually just be grateful for your life. And be like, I had a good time. Right? Like
no more ghosts.
No more ghosts,
Just
please.
be grateful.
Just be grateful. Like this is prime ghost making time.
Wow, shout out gratitude.
So this is a kind of which starts on Monday. Very soon, it will be this period of time, the last 2 weeks of this particular moon, the 6th moon. It's a metal goat moon, toxic heat, right? And that's
not to be mistaken with me, the toxic male that's hot.
Cheers to the toxic males. I haven't even drank and I'm already drunk.
Having a blast here.
All class. What was that about dignity?
Apricots. Go ahead, please.
Third moon of summer, or the third moon of any season. Every season, 4 seasons, 12 moons. Every season gets 2 moons, a yin, or rather a yang and a yin version of the moon, or yin and a yang version of the moon of the season. So in the case of summer, it's snake and then horse. The third moon, which is still technically in the season of summer, so it's the third moon of summer, is a transitional moon, right? So it is the time where Earth comes up. So there are 5 elements in the Chinese cosmology. Only 4 of them, so-called 4 of them, have seasons attached to them. Wood is spring, fire is summer, autumn is metal, and water for winter. So where does Earth go? Earth comes up at these transitions, because Earth is the continuity that makes all change possible. So there's a period of time, there's 2 different parts of the Tongshu that we could be talking about. We're talking about lunar mandates, in which it's just the 6th moon in general. But then you also have the chi nodes, or the solar terms that are happening, which speak to 2-week periods of time. There's 28 different indicators. At any rate, what's important is that the last 2 weeks of this 6th moon fall squarely in that solar indicator, where it is the earth element that rises up to shepherd the transition between summer and autumn. So it's a very potent 2 weeks, because summer is still raging, right? You still have a lot of motion, because yang is so powerful, has penetrated the earth to such a degree that even though it's backing off, there's a lot of things moving still. It's like, you break in pool and the balls are still rolling. Like you don't need to keep hitting each ball as it's rolling. You hit that one time. That's what yang has done through the entire season for a period of time. And now everything's still rolling. That's why it's so dangerous, so powerful. You could either cook your food or set your house on fire. So this is the idea around the handling of yang. When it's starting to wane, its influence is starting to wane, it is important to feed yin. It is important to cool down. It's important to really take care of yourself and not to continue to push and pretend that it's still April or May or June where we're ascending. We want to keep pushing because we're aggressive, we're selfish, we have like things that really move us. But the more that we do that every season, the less in touch with our humanity we become. We become more obsessed with the things that we're interested in rather than sincere.
There's a qigong for that.
All right.
He talked about the handling of the yang. He talked about the rolling over
Yeah.
to yin.
Retirement.
And there's a movement of a yang that rises through the triple warmer, right, meridian, right? So you have this rolling, but you also have like this falling, right? And that just feeds right back into the next rise, right? And so when you talk about handling the yang and rolling over into the yin, this type of rolling qigong movement came to mind, and specifically with this kind of fire aspect, right?
Here.
You have these 3 fingers. You see, you catch it on the camera. These 3 fingers, right? These are your fire fingers. You have heart, small intestine, triple warmer, pericardium, all through this kind of spiraling movement. So you have this spiral that comes in and then it goes out, right? Spiral in, comes out. So you have this kind of rolling movement here, right? And that is what's able to rise to that hard, that yang, that fire.
Through the center.
Yeah. So it comes up, like Shannon said, through the center, you go down and then pull back into
so you're kind of bringing it in too.
And because both are happening at once, it's one going down that propels the other one up, and vice versa.
Yeah, so that's a great image because you're still gathering, right? You're still moving and making things happen, right? You're still, it's not that I'm famous for telling people to slow down or stop.
That's the next segment.
That's the next segment. Here it comes. But I think I don't want to, we're a very aggressive culture. So do, but don't start. This is this earth element that rises up. Every time earth appears, it brings damp and it suppresses another element. Okay. So when earth comes up, it suppresses another element. And in this case, with the late summer, it doesn't suppress fire. It suppresses wood. It subdues wood and brings it under, right? And that is freshness. That is the dream, to try to dream. Like your dreams should be concluded. And wherever they are, this isn't about like revelatory tradition. So it's about being realistic now. Well, I didn't really quite get where I wanted to go, but I did my best. And that's really how we gather and harvest dignity, which is what we need to take into the fall and winter, is a sense of dignity. If we're only harvesting anxiety, that's problematic. And you're basically continuing to build heat in the body, which in the case of when Earth comes up, seasonally speaking, and we're full of anxiety, we're full of desire, despair, like just one more we want to be like victorious, right? Whatever it takes. When we're so full of that kind of aggression, and we're continuing to feed fire, we should not be feeding fire. But if we do those things, that's why I say it's a suicide pact. We are combining heat with damp, and in that heat sticks, it congeals, and it causes like constriction, so heart disease, constipation.
Sounds like popcorn.
Ooh, say more.
Right?
Popcorn.
You're at heat, right? And dampness, the butter.
Right.
So hot that it explodes.
That explodes. Yeah.
And you eat it.
Yeah.
And it sticks. You get the kernels stuck on your teeth.
And it's like, yeah.
And it constipates you.
Yeah. So there's certain
Popcorn!
there's certain dietary things that I know the Ming was very much against in general.
Yeah.
Right. Because they build heat in the body predominantly. But during this season, for like the next 2 weeks, like just don't do it then, or if you're going to be barbecuing, do as a celebration
Yeah.
of Yang's abundance, of like what it was able to accomplish.
And serve with some sauerkraut.
And lots of sauerkraut, and then follow up with some watermelon. And a little, vinegar certainly will help.
Yeah.
So, it's not like to be, religious about it. It's just a notice. Like I had some fried chicken with some friends yesterday, just a couple pieces of fried chicken, and it was like super constipated, like
Just a couple.
just a couple.
That's your problem. You should have had.
I should have had way more.
20 pieces of fried chicken.
Push that all the
Right
way
through
through. Take about 6 months off the end of my life, but it was delicious. Congestion, that's what we're talking about. So
Tea drug is what the
it's
show's called.
it's congestion of fluids. Yeah. So that means also stuffy head, nose, headaches, sleeplessness, bad dreams, nightmares. Like all of these things are made more acute. Fibromyalgia, like lots of all in ways in which we have inflammation, chronic inflammation in the body will come forward, so for people who have chronic conditions, inflammation in the body, this is a crucial time to cool down, and to seek treatment, not to get rid of anything or to cure yourself, but to help mitigate the symptoms, because what you want to do is slowly release the toxic buildup of heat. Because a sudden release of toxic buildup of heat, what would that do? Popcorn. You may die, right? So you don't, not to say you're gonna die. I'm on camera here. But just to say, like, get your pulse read first. Find out where you are. But like, I know that in my own constitution, because of years of like abusive stimulants, just coffee, staying up late, like just being, 20, 30 years. I mean, if you're doing this over and over and over habitually for years or decades, this is the time of year where those habits that you've been sustaining for all those decades kind of start catching up with you and start limiting your capacity, So this cosmology would be like, stop that behavior before, like cut back or eliminate fried chicken from your diet before you can't eat it, right? Ever, before you get to that point where I need to take pharmaceuticals so I can eat fried chicken. Like,
dang.
Right. Because that's
I
what
carry Tums next to my ranch and my hot sauce.
exactly. So that's where we're headed. And if somebody's already there, welcome to toxic buildup of toxic heat. So this is Ming called them cinders. We call them toxic stuck heat, damp heat conditions in the body. Yeah. It is well documented through Ming's teachings and other people, Ted Kapchuk, and different practitioners, that really point to the buildup of toxic heat or damp heat in the body as a source of all disease, cancer, everything. Right. So this is
wrapped in damp.
Right. So this is a very, very, very old teaching about what causes illness, in the body. And it is related to this particular season.
And it's basically American culture.
Yes. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why I say, like, we live in a death cult. For real, because it's a revelatory culture. We're not in our experience, we're waiting for the next experience. And so as long as we have the resources, we're going to burn them, we're going to use them. And this is the time of year, if you're looking to get away from that instinctually, which is a very ghostly, is not human behavior, not human. So if you're feeling your humanity and you're feeling kind of oppressed or challenged by like this kind of constant stimuli, like exhausted, then, congratulations, you're touching your humanity, essentially. That it is, I'm being given all kinds of signals from ghosts to deny what I actually am. And to that, I would say, and cup half full, embrace the things, like let go of the things you can't control and embrace the things you can. And the things you can control is to actually regulate your behavior that helps cool you down and prepare you for the autumn, which is what we need to do. We need to don't take on any new projects, like finish out what we have, be sustained by what we do. And if you're working like 40-hour-a-week job, it's like supposed to give the same all the time. This is a good time to take a vacation and not necessarily go nowhere, like go to a lake or a river. Don't try to vacation in the sense of like doing a bucket list thing. It's all very strenuous. Like get away from anything strenuous and like let go of trying to accomplish or control anything. It's not a very, but I think that saying this out loud for people to hear it, like there may be people who go, thank God, permission to chill the fuck out.
Well, perfect segue to a brand new segment I introduced to the show. Now, we spoke of the Lukey Dookies and the Zookie Dookies in that triangle. We often joke about how Shannon's always telling us to slow down, right? And if there's ever a time to go, it's like a 2-week window that we just missed, by the way.
It's too late.
It's already gone. It's already gone. If there's ever a time to go, it's like a little sliver of go. Otherwise, it's slow down is the wisdom from my brother Shannon. However, similar to Hawaiians who have a million ways to say rain, similar to our Inuits who have a million ways to say snow, similar to people in India that have a million ways to say diarrhea. If you have a lot of it, you have a lot of ways to describe it. So sure, it's slow, but it's nuanced. And so our new segment, 28 flavors of slow.
Yeah, 28 flavors of slow.
We haven't honed in on the name.
Yeah, I like that. That's
28 flavors.
28 flavors of slow.
A la Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors of ice cream.
Well, the 28 is in alignment. Well, it could be 24. So it's either 24 or 28.
We'll get back to you. Flavors of slow is what we're getting at. So this segment for this moon cycle, from our full moon to the next full moon,
right?
Albeit summertime when it's a go time,
right?
What is our flavor of slow?
What is the flavor of slow? Yeah, I mean, between full moon to full moon, if we want to get precise, which I'm okay with, like generally speaking, the first from here until the new moon, right? It's definitely downshift, pace yourself. Downshift is a good one to actually actively downshift. Actually like actively downshift, like take things off the plate, like actually finish things and hand them off to someone else, like set them aside for them to be recognized and celebrated. Like find ways to actually take things off your plate.
So is this kind of like a California rolling stop? No, you don't stop at the stop sign.
Yeah, but the implication is that you keep going because you California stopped to then accelerate again.
It's still a go, right? It's still a go time.
I mean, it's actually more about like taking your foot off the gas and trusting the acceleration and momentum you already have. And then also dispersing that momentum by handing things off to other people. So you're sort of evening out the field. Because if you're trying to act like a Christmas tree, like a wedge, just trying to, that's only good for like a couple different signs, like horses and dragons and maybe tigers. And that's not sustainable right now. So what we want to do is kind of fall back, disperse the moment. If we have excess momentum, like I have too many things, can you help me? What a novel concept, right? Like I have way too many things on my desk. I need to get these things done by the end of the month. Who can I enlist? Alliance. It's a goat moon. We should be asking each other for help, right? And that's, unfortunately, Americans just don't like each other. We don't. We do not like each other at all, bro. We hate each other, in fact. because everybody else is just an obstacle.
By design. By design.
By design, by design.
Yeah.
I actually, if you got to know your fellow American, you're like, you're pretty cool. But like anytime somebody says to you, you know, my fellow American, what's your response? Get the fuck away from me. Get the hell away from me. Like, you know, like we don't have that kind of civic pride. Even less, I mean, maybe California would be like, yeah, where are you from in California? But you got to qualify him, right? You're like, well, where? Okay, you're from Brentwood? Yeah, you're not really California. Oh, you're from Sacramento? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and then north to south.
North and
Central.
south,
Yeah.
coastal, inland, even now, like talking about like Mendo, who, you know, considers themselves maybe more Oregon than Californian, right? So just point being is that like, if we have some kind of civic community, if we still have some kind of civic community, you should be using it to sort of disperse the momentum and get everybody to kind of collectively slow down by kind of sharing the load.
Okay.
But then the next 2 weeks after that, from the full moon to the next full moon, you should really tap the brakes. You should actually apply pressure to the brakes. test the brake.
Yeah.
Like really actually try it, you know, because
Slow
that'd be
down.
the monkey. And there'll be, you know, we may be getting so many cues. The reason why I say slow down so much is we get so many cues to keep going faster. Like we're constantly judged by how slow we're not doing enough. Like that is, and fortunately, there's a lot being made about that. You know, people are at least having conversations about what that feels like to be constantly told you're not doing enough. And loser, you know, like all these different things. Like we judge ourselves pretty harshly. And I think there's a connection between that and not liking each other. Because if somebody has a chance to be nice to you, you're immediately suspicious. You know, what do you want? You
That
know,
feels very East Coast. It's like, what you smiling for?
yeah, true. I mean, the West Coast is a little more relaxed,
Yeah.
but there's some similarities. So first half, disperse,
Yeah.
downshift.
Downshift.
Yeah, use the clutch.
Yeah.
Use the clutch. And then in the first part of autumn, like practice braking, like actually hit the
Yeah.
brake. You don't have to slam the brakes, just kind of touch it.
Yeah.
Slow down.
And that'll probably show up as saying no. It'll probably show up as going to bed early.
Yeah, or saying no.
Yeah.
Saying no, saying no. Like if pretty much from now for the rest of the year,
No, thank you.
no thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Let me get back to you. Or like, or my favorite thing would say was say yes and then cancel. Yeah,
sure.
yeah. If you're like, then call them up a day later, being like, you know what? I'm actually so swamped. And because
Wow.
then you create this moment of affinity because they go, you know what? Me too.
Well, it's like at the nightclub. Everyone wants to go hiking the next day, and then no one goes
No
hiking.
one
the
goes
next day.
hiking.
We should totally go hiking.
Know your limits. It's about taking responsibility too, for the implications of everything that we've done. Like, I think that there's a lot of privilege in our society, even in entertaining this video means you're probably in some position of a privilege.
Ouch.
I'm just saying,
Darn
me
it.
too. I'm sitting here having tea, you know, looking at notes on a $1,500 phone. Like, I mean, right?
Privilege.
So
Grateful. Gratitude.
grateful. It has pressure, you know, because you're like, you have to maintain your privilege, you have to keep pushing and keep justifying your privilege. There's a lot of different aspects to it. But if you can slow down, there's a lot of people who out there who can't.
That part.
That part, you know, like if you can slow down, you should slow down. Like you should say no.
Yeah.
Like
slow is a privilege, huh?
slow is a major privilege, or a no is a major privilege.
Wow.
No is a pretty major privilege.
Big
Yeah.
takeaway.
So
All right.
finish it out, like finish what you're doing, whatever it, if you have one big major project, or know how to tie it off. If it's a multi-layered project and it's going to need a lot more attention, just know how to put it in a state into stasis, right? There's a lot of things that we're doing. Like I spent, for instance, this whole year, like learning, studying. I understand now that like I'm not going to try to keep pushing through the winter, in terms of the studying process. I don't want to like germinate, gestate, let things kind of like really unfold on their own. So there has to be a kind of fulfillment, like a feeling of fulfillment. So people ask me, a friend of mine was asking me the other day, what is fulfillment? And, anything you can think of it's everything's permissible. It's on the table. But do understand that whatever this is a contemplative tradition and not a revelatory one. So there is no one sense of fulfillment. But what it does encourage is contemplation.
Yeah.
To really reflect upon like what your view is of fulfillment. Because you're
leading.
There's that. Yeah. But what is fulfillment? Like your view of fulfillment will affect your method and then will affect your fruition. So if my sense of fulfillment is like, I really like to breathe and like move my body every day, and I'm not really worried about resources, I just want to like actually feel embodied, then you'll probably find that at the end of the day. Like that, you'll find that fruition, but it will then decide the kind of actions that you take, the methods that you do, if that's your view. But what I would encourage anybody who's watching this is like, the sixth moon is incredibly important because it brings us back to this WYSIWYG place, like what you see is what you get. Like it brings us back into our view, method, and fruit, And if you don't know what that is, you can figure it out. Like you're a human being.
That word tickles me.
Everyone's manifesting something. WYSIWYG.
Hey.
Yeah.
Next segment. Good luck, bad luck. Who knows?
Oh, right. Well, a goat moon is always good for domestics. So the domestics, well, again, it depends on view, method, and fruition, because if we're in a society that's filled with crazy people and a death cult, then your domestics are probably stressed out.
No place like home.
I know rabbits right now who are like, what the hell is happening? So it's, but generally speaking, your domestics do better because they have some point of relationship already available to them.
Great. So domestics being
pigs,
barnyard animals being your pigs, your goats, your horses, your roosters.
No, it's the domestics is actually, I'm going by trines.
Got it.
So the domestic trine is the pig, the rabbit, and the goat.
Got it.
Right. And to some extent, the dog, even though they belong in a different trine. And in that trine is dog, horse, and tiger. And the horse and dog do well, because they've made alliances. The tiger is less so. Yeah.
Tiger's tired by now.
You'll have to find the tiger. Let's put it that way, because they're preparing for monkey. Right. So tigers are only gonna reveal themselves to people they actually trust at this point, which is usually a pretty low number of people. And your dragons, monkeys, and rats, the creative trine, whatever. Yeah, so I would put all of those three in a holding pattern of some sort, like meaning that they're just kind of Like in the case of the rat, they're trying to stay out of the way of the social flow and not get trampled by it because they're still coming out of the horse moon, which is always a little bit traumatic for them. And then, both monkeys and dragons deal with alliances and sociality begrudgingly. So they're they pick their poison. And it's like, it kind of depends on who they're talking to from what social group. And so they're not, if they're successful, they're not exposing themselves all that much. In a similar way, kind of the tigers, like, I'm not really concerned with what you think, kind of attitude. And then the final ones, the rooster, the ox, and the snake. They can abide, they can move through this space, fairly easy, but they could also get very annoyed. It's all just kind of contingent on the alliances and what we've created around us as like a social body. So all 12 animals are under the influence of a social body in this particular moon. Now that social body is going to start to narrow, and that is the topic of the monkey. Is how do we narrow our social body down to, the people that are most important, and then how do we cleverly sidestep everyone else, right? So in the case of the social body in this particular moon, your oxen already pretty, how should you say, committed, they're already pretty committed. So your ox, your rooster, and your snake, as long as they're committed in places that they feel they can abide by, then they generally do pretty well. I mean, I know a snake that's traveling right now, and I don't think that's a problem for them, but generally speaking, snakes will probably want to stay in familiar places and not too many, how you say, curveballs, like things that are fairly predictable. Go on a paid for vacation. I don't know, like some kind of a very ox thing to do, take a paid vacation, timeshare kind of thing, something, all-inclusive meals, retreat. Then I don't have to worry about like everybody speaks English, like that kind of thing.
That sounds good for all the zodiac animals, I'm sure.
Some, space. But we're also, again, in the toxic heat aspect of what I in the toxic heat aspect of our conversation, in it being a wood dragon year, the wind and the sun, stay out of them. It's pretty simple. Like cover up. Bathing practices become much more important. So making sure you clean, scrub yourself, dry brushing. Again, just like hygienic practices, pretty important for at least the next 2 weeks, and then going into the fall. Is it, so get your hygienic practices in order.
Don't put deodorant on over funk, right?
Yeah, right.
Yourself.
No more of that. Like
Then put
there's actually really cool bathing, like dry brushing, bucket bathing. If you had an outdoor shower, so key, because then you can just periodically throughout the day just do a cold douse.
Bucket shower.
Outdoor bucket showers is great, especially if it's hot. Just like cold water in a bucket, just douse yourself. And then Ming had a thing that he would say in the last bucket dousing before you go to bed, put some salt in it. And like that's like a return to the womb kind of vibe.
Okay.
So I mean, understand that yin is back and is growing, so that's where we're going, like summer is over. I mean, it feels like it's not, because summer is so strong. It's going to be hot and continue to roll forward, but we shouldn't act like we can take advantage of that and keep pushing, because what ends up happening is that we end up destroying our resources. Instead of cooking our food, we burn the house down, right? So that's what it's about.
Cajun.
It's about getting ahead. Getting
Black
ahead.
pepper.
Right.
Cajun.
Right.
It's a profile.
it's about getting to a place where we can sort of start preparing and anticipating ourselves for the next season. And when we do that, we avoid getting these stuck heat conditions in our body that congest the fluids of our body. Because one thing I find fascinating is that your body goes through these transformations in alignment with the seasons, right? So when we go into summer, our blood gets thinner to help cool us off. And then as we transition into the yin phase, it starts to thicken again. So we don't want to keep pushing and thinning our blood, and we create these conditions of stuck heat. So yeah, there's a lot of things like as a practitioner, I can't do all these things because I'm still from this culture, right? So I'm learning along with everybody else.
I'm laughing because you're talking about the thickness of blood, and I'm thinking about the thickness of gravy because mom's so fat she bleeds gravy, and then something like, oh, what time of year is this gravy?
November.
Sorry, that's what I think of. I'm listening to Shannon.
Oh yeah. No,
Just put it through the filter of your mama jokes.
November. Pig moon. That's where you get blood for gravy for blood.
So is that all our animals?
Yeah, that's all 12.
Okay. Next segment. What would Ming be doing right now?
Telling people to slow down. I mean, what do you think?
What came to mind is he'd probably have his students move his furniture for him. Slow down, but move this big cube over there.
Well, in alignment with the hygienic practices and the feng shui, yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you have. I mean, he moved furniture like every
2
season.
weeks.
Yeah, every 2 weeks.
Every chino,
Every Chino.
he'd have a whole new. You go to his house,
And it's all set up different. Same stuff, but just in a different arrangement.
new arrangement.
Some of those arrangements are,
Masterful.
yeah, just incredible. The cube all the way back. Sometimes the cube was like right by the fucking front door. You walk in, you're like, cube.
Yeah,
And you have to go turn this way. And like, oh, that's on purpose. You're getting me to turn left immediately. Like, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, he'd probably be moving things around.
Yeah.
Yeah, in preparation, tying things off.
You know, I've been getting subtle taps, so that came to me as a subtle tap. So Ming said, "No, move furniture."
Move furniture. Yeah, I need to. Yeah, yeah. Clean off your altars.
Yeah.
Yeah, get ready for the season of yin.
So we've done our auspice. We've celebrated 2 years of doing this. We've done our qigong for that. We've done our
What would Ming do?
animals. We've done our what would Ming do. Hexagram.
So 45 is a good one. That is the kind of gathering together. It's the huddle up moment. There's also that one. The hexagram for the I don't know. I go with 45, but there is
Good old president. 45. No relation. No relation.
no Uncle Ruckus, no relation. So the 40, yeah, hexagram 45. There's also a 30, hexagram 30 and 45. 30 is a Oriole, what it's called. It's after a bird that appears seasonally, indicating the end of summer. It's the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the Baltimore Oriole. Yeah. And the Oriole is basically this signal of summer's decline. And it's a little bit like if you're gonna do it, do it now, finish it up. Like don't wait. But it's also an understanding of transitory nature of the power that's available, and that we should be mindful, in the sense that if we're using a tool in a desperate way, we may very likely do more harm than good. And so there is as always in the hexagrams, in the book of the Joey, is pointing toward the practices of the Joe people, which are this kind of consistency, continuity of purpose, a kind of steady heartbeat, routine kind of behavior, which is, I think, duration. It's hexagram 32. It's like speaks to this kind of get up every day, day in, day out, kind of making sure that the labor of life is kind of set at a baseline. This is also very earth. Earth is this element of perseverance, so that we can maintain, if we can maintain this kind of level ground, right, then we can have these adventures, but when the time comes, like, we have to come back to the level ground. And I think that's a big takeaway for me, when it comes to the sixth moon, is like, first of all, you have to find the level ground, and chances are you're sharing it with others, like, and you're there on that level ground with each other, not just by yourself.
Mama so fat.
They
They use her to level ground.
use what?
They use her to level the ground. Just roll it. Steamroller. He's hot. It's like, if you've been watching this long, Gordon, I'm sorry.
This makes a lot of sense, actually.
The show is called D Drunk.
Tea drunk. Yeah. So this is the drunk part.
Okay. It's a great place to wrap up.
Thank you. Till next time.
Now, how do I stop?